Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the only podcast in India where we bring a new entrepreneur on every episode to talk about their journey and their story of building a company. And today we have with us Angad Bedi, who is the managing director at BCD Group, which is one of the oldest and largest real estate conglomerates in India. Hi, Angad. Welcome to ELI.
Thank you, Priya. Good afternoon. Good to be on your show
Very
and
good afternoon.
join you for this exciting session ahead.
Pleasure having you on our platform. To start with, would love to set the context for our audience. Tell us a bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and how have you, arrived at being the leader of such a large real estate group.
So, Priya, I'm a chartered accountant and I'm also an MBA and done my PGDM and doctorate. And coming from a professional background, I joined the family business of construction about 2 decades back. Thereafter, keeping in the expertise coming in from organizations of KPMG and PwC, which was my earlier training days in terms of understanding M&A, taxation, corporate restructuring. So there were a lot of learnings from those days of the corporate life we were able to embody into the family business. And thereafter, when I came in from the contracting business, we were able to, over a period of time, diversify into various verticals of having our own fund,
Mhm.
having our own development arm, as well as other verticals which we run separately, each company being run in a professional manner with a very astute board and independent professionals who will be leading it. So
Mhm.
we saw a lot of corporatization from the family business in becoming a full grown professional organization over the 2 decades.
Got it. Speaking of the family business, I think it was started probably in 1960s or 50s. Correct me if I'm wrong. But can you give us a brief on when it was started and how has the business evolved over the years?
Genesis of the learnings and the roots have been from my grandfather, who's been into construction pre-partition and then post-partition. He was involved in some marquee projects of being the contractor for them across the country. Most of the steel plants in the country have been built by him. He's worked extensively globally in countries like Iraq, Nepal, Saudi, Mauritius, to name a few. So he has organically built what is today a zero debt empire of a construction conglomerate and having presence across India in various states and having delivered millions of square feet. I think we are one of the top 10 privately held companies who have executed maximum in terms of volume of square footages across various asset classes,
Right.
not only in India, but globally.
Correct.
So, at the helm of business, from the contracting leadership, he was a veteran, and I have stepped in as a professional 2 decades back to then diversify and grow the business.
Mm, got it. I have a set of questions around the whole real estate industry, especially in India. I think it's a very debatable topic now. A lot of hot conversations going around, and I'm hoping to cover a few of them in this podcast. To begin with, I would ask you this from your vantage point as a head of one of the India's largest real estate groups. How would you describe the current state of Indian real estate sector? Like, is it in a phase of consolidation, growth, or how is it currently?
Just to give a brief snapshot, Indian real estate is about a 3 decade old story. It's
Mhm.
only after the late 90s that the private developers and urbanization, once the economy opened up and FDI started coming in, FII started coming in, that we saw growth in terms of appreciation, prices, and this business come in. So the
Mhm.
early decade of 2000 was all about growth, understanding, and all private people coming into the industry as developers, taking up lands and making consumers their homes. I think the previous decade from 2010 to 2020 was the era of about a clean out of non-core people who had come into the business and not being able to understand the cash flows and the nuances that cleaned out a lot of unstructured elements in the market, and it led to what we say is the professionalization of the industry. In past 2 to 4 years after COVID, the industry has kind of matured. Laws have been streamlined. Buyers, consumers, as well as the sellers have kind of understood their rights. People are very conscious on their obligations and handling the business in a very delicate and matured manner. That
Right.
has led to becoming an industry in itself, which I feel over the next decade and 2 decades is going to be a booming industry. And seeing that there is a huge shortage of about 20 million homes across, I mean, any supply which is coming in form of housing at least is going to get lapped up quickly.
That's true. And you spoke about COVID. I think COVID-19 pandemic was a catalyst for many reasons. There was a small brief moment when the houses were not selling during the month of March 2020, or probably 3 months after that. But then suddenly there was a huge demand for the houses, especially for larger homes, which would have a dedicated workspace. That kind of demand surged, and now in middle of 25, with the return to office mandates, how what are the new trends have you been seeing? How has the home and real estate market evolved after 2020?
See, I think that's a year where people realize the value of home, that you spend a significant 60% of your life within the premises,
Hmm.
and being hooped in and being put in there, it evoked a lot of thought in the same place that at least the home should be of a comfortable size and it should be in totality, which can encompass all your needs
Hmm.
rather than how it was just coming in and going out and sleeping in and into. It became a place to live into. That, along with the economy kickbacking up, and as well as the overall real estate, not only as an industry, but we're talking about India as a whole, has been on an economic growth era. And it has kind of got the manufacturing, technology, FDI, or automobiles, every sector is at an all-time high. So it works as a 360-degree catalyst for the residential and the commercial sector,
Mhm.
wherein that the industry demand caters to the requirement of housing and spaces to be filled up by people. So
Right.
I think it's been a 360-degree engine which has fired out, leading to the growth of the overall sector. And as we see, and this trend says, if India is headed to become a $1 trillion economy, the natural outcome is that the housing sector and the commercial sector is going to go simultaneously.
Okay. And one observation I've had recently is beyond just square footage, the definition of home has changed for Indian consumers. Like now, the home would also include amenities like community farms, co-working spaces within the complex, wellness centers, and these are some of the features which are becoming non-negotiable for home buyers. What is your commentary on that?
It's not only the apartment one gets and lives into, it's the ecosystem in the surrounding of the building and the campus and the project, which becomes the first instant EQ puller customer. Because for him, seeing that what is going to be his downtime in the evenings, to his sports needs, to his family stepping out, to his old age parents going and using the clubhouse as a sit out lounge. I mean, you live in the house definitely, so the sizes have been increased in terms of a demand, but the amenities and lifestyle have also played a simultaneous role in terms of being picked up as developers catering to the customer's need that comes in from an elevated sense of living, an elevated sense of lifestyle. And then it becomes that a community that one does not need to really go out of.
Mm.
Today, your housing needs in terms of your grocery, dry cleaning, your gym, your facilities are all provided within the campus. So after a hard days of work and coming in and from out of traffic, one wants to just kind of complete all its chores from the building itself. So
Mhm.
the point of need of utility, aspiration, comfort, as well as recreation is all what developers are now packaging it into the campus for the customer to have a home which he kind of grows into and lives in a longer manner.
Got it. And I think 2020 is 25 is that year when Gen Zs are entering the home buying market for the first time. I think they are now old enough to own a home, take mortgages, and so on. Um, what are the patterns that you have been observing? How different is their needs versus the typical home buyers? What are some of the trends that you have been observing about Gen Zs buying home?
Yeah, I think the new generation is very well aware, very well read. Their access to knowledge and through the internet and digital medium available, they are very well aware consumers who know what they want and know how they want. I think been a generation the past decade who have been built to understand that as youngsters they need to build their own life, and the ownership, which is a very big factor in an Indian heart, has always prevailed over renting a property. That, backed with a very matured mortgage market, which is today at a very high value of giving out disbursal of loans to even people with a 3 to 4 lakh rupees income package, has led to another further catalyst of home buyers, wherein earlier it was only working population, but youngsters today are having a very healthy pay packages and are able to make their assets and commit for a value earlier in the day. With the prices, at least apart from MMR and Mumbai region, not being out of reach makes it very favorable for a youngster to purchase and buy his own home and build his assets early. Wherein in our parents' time, usually it used to be they used to be 40 and 50 when they used to say they've acquired their first asset. I think 20s is the new age to be able to have the pleasure of at least booking and blocking a home.
Right. The next topic I want to cover is around floor space index. I think it's a recent debatable topic where people are constantly talking about uh, cities across the world. They have a higher floor space index compared to India, and Indian cities like Mumbai and Bengaluru, they could have optimized the floor FPI to become more greener, more spacious, but due to some government regulation, due to lack of planning, it has not happened. What would be your commentary on that?
See, though FSI is a very healthy sort of increasing in a manner to get developers being able to make more square footages in a building. I however feel that horizontal growth rather than vertical pressure is the way to expand. One should be able to have good road connectivity, and a horizontal road does not create unnecessarily pressure on the infrastructure, the traffic movements, the density, as well as creating too much concrete in a certain concentrated area. And the country is abundantly available with lands. And if we're able to extend the ecosystem of the water, drainage, sewage, power, and roads to further outskirts of the city, it not only leads to a non-condensed development, it also leads to creating new micro markets, new opportunities for that areas. And that way, the expansion and the development of the country is in a larger way affected. That as the infra grows, the economy indirectly is also benefiting.
Understood. Uh, the other big trend that we have been observing is now tier 2 and tier 3 cities are also growing very fast in terms of real estate development. What would be your observations around that? Do you think tier two cities are growing faster than tier one? Or is it because there are more spaces around in tier two to build construction compared to tier one? What has been your observation?
I think the India shining story is not a metro story. I think it's a pan-India story. Be it the tier two or tier threes or even the rural areas, there has been growth and there has been effect of the digitization and UPI coming in and agriculture as well as growing powers and roads getting extended to every part of the country. And with the digital medium making life very seamless, I think one location to the other is very accessible with the ports and airports increasing its own expansion in India. Today, I think every tier two, tier three city has got excellent aviation connectivity. That door
Mhm.
to door, it is only a few hours away as a destination. That itself, overall, in terms of a country building, leads to the development of the further cities, wherein there is enough industry, manufacturing, as well as other options which are propelling that market. And as it grows, the necessity of housing as well as upgradation of housing continues to come in.
Got it. And there have been some recent events like because of the monsoon, Bangalore saw flooding in Gurgaon. Roads were covered in, there was water logging. Then we also see Delhi's air pollution during winters. So metro cities are not just getting crowded, the infrastructure is also not able to sort of cater to the large population, large number of people living in a small area. How is the industry incorporating these climate changes and becoming resilient by innovating on project design or location planning or anything around that?
If you make the existing infrastructure overloaded with higher FSI, the roads and the sewage systems which are planned back in the day, there is only that much they can take. And that's when all the choking and as well as the problems start happening. There are only that many solutions available to retrofit to solve those problems. The smarter and the conscient way would be to expand, like I said earlier in the conversation, towards undeveloped areas to bring in more organized planning and infrastructure there than trying to recondense an existing area just for the sake of convenience and profitability. We all have to play our part in terms of the sustainable way. Then it has to be a 360 view
Mm.
because it is not about just taking the renewables and putting a grid into play, but it is overall the impact of too much traffic, which leads to road jams, which leads to CO2 emissions, and so many other rippling effects that
Mm.
has a 360 impact on this.
Right. And how is government playing a part in this home buyer and seller market? I think some regulations has come like RERA, and then there are regulations, flexible regulations around uh, floor space index, which has increased now compared to earlier. So how are you, observing government's reaction or rather proactive action towards this real estate market?
Government is playing a fantastic role in India, at least in terms of the infrastructure, overall urbanization. The economy is at a strengthening positioning by RBI taking stringent measures to keep inflation under check.
Mm.
All these macroeconomics play a role into the minor aspects of the economic development of the country. With regards to upgradation of the sewage lines, the electricity, and all other grids, that also has been continuously done by the states at their levels. So government has been playing a very proactive and a positive role in terms of getting it done. But it is the consumer and the developers who need to play a consecutive part along with the government in making well sustainable, well planned, efficient homes which are today future proof and smart in nature in terms of the energy savings, in terms of being green in buildings, in terms of being not in violation of the bylaws and adhering to the rule book.
Got it. And I think government also plays a big part in giving approvals for land acquisition, for construction. How many floors can you build in a land, and those sort of things. So how do land acquisition challenges and the complex web of approvals contribute to the final cost of a property? Can you quantify, like, for example, what percent of a flat's cost in, say, in a city like Mumbai or Bangalore is just the cost of land and its approvals?
So I think the land cost effectively in a tier two is about 30%, and in tier one and as in metro cities goes as high as 60%. Somewhere in a city like Mumbai, it even is about 80 to 90% as the cost for the home buyer. So land has its own intrinsic value based on the demand and supply and the location, as well as the density and its own heritage since when it has been developed, which matures and grows over a period of time. Land acquisition, yes, has been a tricky and is a complicated process, and it is not streamlined in the effect of having everything in the black and white. There are gray areas. That is why that is the challenge today about the title of the lands, unless it is given by the government as a industrial or as well as a housing plotted development, which is given out. But overall, when we go to the periphery and get your lands off from the direct sources, it has its hurdles. But I think people have understood what are the due diligence and the formalities which they need to do to keep that in order.
Got it. Uh, I think technology has been a disrupted in construction industry. There are rise of PropTech platforms which allow you to buy land through technology, sometimes fractionally buy properties, commercial and residential both. There is a rise of virtual reality in real estate. You can give tours to your home buyers of the property. Um Online booking platforms have come up. There is technology around 3D printing, which can, completely build houses using the 3D printer. So a lot of different technologies are coming in. Which of them are you leveraging at BCD Group to, build, do innovations and do cost saving or in any other use cases?
If I was to break it up, technology plays a role in construction. Today, the shuttering systems, the operational machineries have kind of been at international standards to kind of make the buildings in a very fast and efficient manner. So that is from the contracting side. On terms of the consumer side, there are interfaces to make it seamless for a consumer to be able to track progress, to be able to make his payments, to be able to digitize his records. From liaising to the governments today, the process of registration towards getting in your khatas or as well as your property tax numbers has kind of also been helped with digitization. India is also, like everywhere else in the world, moving towards a paperless economy. And we have a very strong IT and a backend in India. And I think everybody is leveraging on that towards the convenience of the value it brings in terms of the ease of doing everything. And we at BCD have been implementing from our ERPs to the construction, to the tech, to the customer interfaces, to a post delivery facility management operations, every digitization to make the customer experience very seamless and effective. And we get our tech from the global markets with our operations there, and we are able to give back a more seamless digitized experience.
Got it. And finally, before we close, I would love to hear about your commentary on the future. How do you foresee the future, maybe 10 years or 15 years from now, looking at, let's say, 2040? What do you envision for Indian mega cities? Will we see more integrated, self-sufficient townships, or will there be more of these chaos which you see everywhere around you?
I see India as a multi-trillion-dollar economy, very well organized, very well connected over the next 2 decades. The world will not be able to recognize the Indian aviation, roads, infra development, the marquee buildings and assets which are being built are at the world standard. The story of Indian industries being leading the front today in global manufacturing is also playing a very, very positive role. Indian aviation, Indian defense, Indian other parts of the sensitive areas has also kind of come in terms of world standards. And I think it will be at par with any top two, three, four developed countries in the world. That is going to be the India story over the next 2 decades. And I think the story has just started, and we are looking at a very bright and vibrant youth with us to
Mhm.
make the story a reality.
Absolutely. I think that's so great to hear. All right. On this note, we will close the session. Thanks for joining us, Angad. Pleasure to have you on our platform, and our best wishes for BCD Group.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for being with you.
Thank you.